I don't have slides. I'm going to try to do this from cards. But as I tend to do, I'll probably just ramble for 20 minutes. But thank you, Sean, and thanks to the Corporate Startup Lab for putting this event together. I think it's a really important subject for all of us to think about, which is innovation in the corporate setting and in a space like retail especially. I think I second what Ray Lin just said, that retail is a place where you can try a lot of things that are a lot harder to try in much more challenging spaces like healthcare or finance or education. So we get to play a lot more, we get to experiment with a lot more things. There's a lot more cool things that have been launched and then killed in the retail space because of this, but it's because we have that room to try new things. So hopefully, if you're not in the retail sector, you'll still get something out of this conversation. I'm a director of product management on the Google shopping team at Google, so I've been working in the commerce space just about 11 years. Prior to that, I worked in several other sectors, including healthcare, homeland security, intelligence, pharmaceutical industry, media, financial services. The common thread through all these things was I was working on data. I've always worked as a product manager in the data space, and that's what I do at Google. I'm responsible for the data team. So we have a team of product managers, engineers, data scientists, UX researchers. I also want to double down on what John said, like you need to work closely in partnership with your UX and data science team. Those are the two meetings, those one-on-ones I have with my data science lead and my UX research lead are my two favorite ones because that's where all the ideas come from. That's where all the insights come from. So make friends with those people. If you don't have those people in your organizations, bring them in because they are the ones that find the opportunities more than any of us. And as a product manager, even though it's my job to find the product, the big opportunities, I really rely on the wisdom of my peers. So I'm not a futurist. Like I said, I'm a product manager. We think we're futurists. We take a lot of guesses. We're right some of the time. So I'll get to some areas that I think are ripe for innovation. But I want to start with some recent trends that I think really is shaping what's happening in retail today. Two pretty scary forces that have come to play. One, which is pretty obvious to all of us, we've all been affected, is the pandemic. It really affected retail. Retail was one of the things hardest hit by the pandemic, but it's also the thing that spurred a lot of innovation. So physical stores closed their doors, and then when they reopened, people were afraid to go to them. So they really sort of suffered and were forced oftentimes to go online for the first time, which in some ways was amazing, right? This was an opportunity for stores that didn't have any online presence and couldn't reach customers outside of their town. They were now able to reach customers worldwide. That was a huge gain, and you see platforms like Shopify and WooCommerce really grew because they made it easy for a mom and pop shop to have a web presence and reach customers around the world. You saw things like curbside pickup, which had been sort of an experiment. People were toying with it. I don't know that anybody had made it a core part of their business. It became a core part of their business for at least a couple quarters. It's starting to taper off, but it's now part of what retail stores offer to their customers, and that all came out of the pandemic. We also saw huge supply chain disruptions. We found out the toilet paper supply chain is not as robust as we thought. We saw that a ship stuck in a canal means that Mike's not getting his birthday present that year. We saw how brittle things can be. We moved from a world of inventory stacked in warehouses to this just-in-time inventory, and there's a downside to that, which is that the supply chain is it's a little more brittle than we thought. So there's lots of opportunities to take on these things. The other force we're seeing a lot is that's scary is Gen Z. And I know there's some Gen Z people here, so you're not as scary in person as you are on paper. But we keep hearing about how the industry is changing. At Google, we talk about this all the time. Gen Z people see Google as like the wise old grandmother, right? This is where you go for the information when you want the authoritative information. But it's not where you're spending your time. You're spending your time in feeds, right? You're getting pushed information. You're scrolling and you're scrolling. And it's not just Gen Z. It's all of us, right? We're on Facebook or TikTok or Twitter or news feeds. That's how we're consuming information more and more. And we're connecting with influencers and creators and people who are now celebrities. It's not the people we're used to. It's a whole different world out there. And so we're thinking about how this is changing retail. People are discovering brands not because there were ads at the top of a search engine or a TV ad. They're discovering brands because they're seeing them in their feeds. And so this is really changing how things happen. Two interesting statistics that I think really frame the retail world. The first is 80% of people say they shop online. I was actually surprised how low that number is. I feel like most people at some point have probably made a purchase online. But the point is, most people at some point are shopping online. But the, I think, more surprising statistic is that 14.5% of people, or 14.5% of sales, still happen in physical stores. So despite the fact that e-commerce is huge, and we all have, many of us have Amazon Prime accounts, and we're shopping on all these websites, we're still doing most of our buying in stores. This is really important when you think about retail innovation, because I think a lot of people in the innovation space, in the technology space, are really stuck on the web and not realizing that where we need the most innovation is getting us to the store, getting us to the right store, and then the experience once we get to the store. I'll come back to that in a little bit. One thing I do think has gotten amazingly better, and this might be controversial, but the buy flow itself, when you buy online or in a store, it's become a lot more seamless. Like, most of us probably have our credit card information saved on Walmart and Lowe's and Amazon. Or if you don't, it's probably saved in your browser so you can fill it in pretty quickly. It takes way fewer clicks than even just a few years ago to complete a purchase. That part's almost solved, I would argue. But shopping is so much more than buying. And shopping is so much more than that checkout experience. It's research, figuring out what product is right for you, finding out what's even important about a product. If you're buying a dishwasher for the first time for your first apartment, you have no idea what to look for. You don't know what's important. Is the noise level important? Is the energy use important? How clean the dishes get? Is there a way to measure that? That's all part of this shopping journey. And then, inspiration and discovery, which you see from these social media sites. We're discovering new things that we weren't planning to buy, and then somehow we end up buying them. That's part of the shopping journey. We at Google, we talk all the time about journeys, the user journey, because we know that oftentimes the process of buying something takes, there might be 12 to 15 touch points. It's not you go search for something, you click on the first ad and you buy. Sometimes it is. It's rarely that. Sometimes you go to the first store, you go in and buy something. If you're just stopping at the gas station to pick up something that you need immediately, that'll happen. But oftentimes it takes time. You want to research things. And you're also passively getting this information all the time through TV and the web. So you're also constantly hearing about products. That's part of the shopping journey too. And we try to think about that whole thing and how we can make it easier and accelerate the process for people. So I want to sort of jump into some of the areas that I think are ripe for disruption. But first, I want to talk about disruption. Now, hopefully, based on this audience and based on this program, everybody's familiar with the innovator's dilemma. If you're not, you should get up right now, run out, go get that book. We'll wait. Okay, everybody has it. Everybody's read it. But I'll do a 10-second recap anyway, just in case. It basically says that the market leader, their job is to protect their leadership role. And so they're going to continue to incrementally make their products or services better. The way to beat them is either chase them and catch up and beat them on some aspect like price or positioning or features on the product, or to go a totally different way and disrupt them. And most of the really big successes through the years have not been the first way. They've been the second way. We used to talk about disk drives, but that's a little out of date. So I'm going to talk about the obvious one is Blockbuster and Netflix. Right? Netflix didn't try to get more Netflix stores on more corners around the country. They came up with a whole different approach to helping us get our movies. And nowadays, hardly anybody even buys DVDs. I just heard a stat that this year, vinyl surpassed CDs as the way people buy their music. That's just an interesting fact. It has nothing to do with my talk. Isn't that crazy? CDs are dead, right? It just, like, people just aren't buying them anymore. That's disruption. Streaming has completely disrupted these industries. That's what we're looking to do. But it's really hard when you're the market leader. It's unnatural to try to disrupt yourselves. Corporate innovation means finding a way to do that, finding a way to go against your nature, to go against the stream, set up a different team to work on it. Make sure that you're intentionally trying to find ways to do that. So let me talk about some of the things I think are ripe for disruption. I have 6 ideas. I'm going to tell you the 3 that I really like, and then I'm going to tell you the 3 that I'm nervous about. But they all fit the shape, the need. One is just doing a better job connecting brands with consumers. We talked about Gen Zs just consuming information, or all of us are consuming all this information. How do brands reach you? I see ads on Instagram. I'm actually kind of surprised how good they are. Targeting works for the most part, and it can be pretty precise, but you don't have to be super precise. You want to get close because we'll train it. The users will train it for you. I started to get ads for shirts for big guys, which once I got over the ego hit from that, I was like, I like these shirts. Like they do fit better. So it works, but how many ads are somebody going to see in a given day? Like there's way more brands out there than what you're able to see in a single scrolling session. And so that can only be one of the ways. So there's an opportunity to find ways to better connect with consumers. One of the things you're seeing more and more is creators and influencers being that point of connection. I think over the next month or so, if you're on YouTube and if you're following your favorite YouTuber, they're going to start doing a lot more things with shopping. They're going to start, like Google's working to connect the products they love and make them easier to buy, possibly even doing some live new product launches during these broadcasts. You're seeing this more and more. Amazon has live broadcasts going on their website where products are being launched. It's really commonplace in China has whole sites dedicated to these live streams where products are being shown and talked about and announced. You're going to see more and more of this. It's a way to cut through the clutter by having an event. So finding ways to scale that, to mechanize that, I think is an opportunity for technology. The challenge there, by the way, when we talk, we have a Gen Z panel that we reach out to and bounce ideas off and listen to. And one of the things they talk about when we say, why are you so excited about buying a product that like an influencer mentioned? And they say, it's the authenticity. Like this is a real person. It's a person I've come to admire and probably agree with a lot of the time. And if they said this product's great, I feel like it's a pretty good bet. And that's really powerful. We can tap into that. The downside of that, though, is it also has to be reliable. The other thing we've noticed is when you go then search for that product online or that service or that restaurant, you might see a lot of bad reviews. It might turn out to be a really bad product or a service. So marrying the reliability, like the information we have from experts, the Wirecutter's and Consumer Reports of the world, or the crowd. I mean, reviews matter. Reviews do add up to signal that tells you whether a product is good or not. Combining those with the authenticity in that direct engagement with a human can be a powerful way to connect better with users and help them find the right product for them. So that connection is the first thing. The second thing is going back to my point before about shopping being so much more than buying, this idea of the journey. Think about the path from starting your search, 2/3 of purchases start online. So if someone's going to buy a dishwasher, they're probably going to search first and research them before they go to a store. Or they might go to a store first and look at the dishwashers to get a sense of the space and not buy. Maybe they'll take some pictures while they're there. Maybe they'll look up the product, scan the barcode, and look up the product online to learn more about the product. And then they're going to go home and think about it. And maybe they're going to research some more. Then they're going to see if they can have it shipped to them. Oh, that's expensive. Okay, maybe I should go down to Lowe's and pick it up there. Do they have it? Is it in stock? One of my favorite Lowe's features, when I need something, I can look, I can see if it's in stock, how many they have. And then when I get to the store, they tell me which aisle and bay it's in. That's amazing. Closing that gap between the online and offline experience and acknowledging that everybody is not going to make a purchase in one sitting. When I was back in 2013, and that year's important because it's way too long ago for this to have not been solved better by now, we sponsored an HCII capstone course to develop an in-store experience for the sellers. So if I'm a consumer coming into the store, what will the merchant have at their disposal to help connect with me and help me find the right product for me? Can they look up my wish list? Can they find the products, the types of products I'm looking for, help me find them? Like, we designed this whole immersive in-store experience with them. There aren't really great in-store experiences today. A lot of times when I go on my phone, I can't even get a signal. Then I have to connect to Wi-Fi. There's a lot of clicks there in a lot of places. How do we make that in-store experience more seamless? I think there's a lot of untapped potential there. And then the third area that I really want to see a lot more innovation in is what we describe as the circular economy. We know that waste is a huge problem in the world. It's bad for the earth. It also just keeps piling up. It's also not super cost efficient, right? Like, there's so many problems that come from just the amount of stuff we're buying and then throwing away. So one way to address this is to get better at dealing with the waste. I know there's a consortium of companies in Europe, some of the big brands like Pepsi and others, who are looking for ways to make plastic recycling just close that loop better, right? There's a ton more we could be doing there. Think about how hard it is to sort your recycling. And most of the recycling, it's super inefficient. There's way more room to fix things there. The other thing we're seeing, and again, I'm gonna go back to my Gen Z panel, is that they're interested in sustainability. That's the number one thing they say every time we talk to them. So it's not just about eco-friendly products. A lot of it is just buying pre-owned items. Like, I don't want to buy something brand new if there's a great product out there that somebody is selling that's in great condition. We've sort of shifted our thinking at Google from thinking of the products as used and putting them at the bottom of the list of options when you're searching for products to thinking of them as pre-owned. And these are things you might be interested in. We've seen a spike in searches where people say used or pre-owned in their search. So we know people are looking for products that aren't brand new, that aren't flooding the market. This idea of fast fashion, which I think spiked probably 10, 15 years ago, and I think is now starting to taper out because people are saying, I don't want to buy something that I can only wear twice and then throw away. I want to buy something that lasts, and even better, something that's been around for a while. So an opportunity to facilitate that loop, that circular economy, I think is a huge win. Okay, then there's some things I think are commonly thought of as winning features in the retail space. And they're going to sound right. But I'm going to caveat this by saying so many startups keep trying these, and I've seen some places where it's stuck, but not really. So when you think about the cost benefit, like, these are the types of things that would easily show up in on the matrix, like John showed earlier, things that are sort of low effort and high value, and somehow I don't think they've stuck. Again, this might be controversial. I'd love to debate about this. One is fit. So the biggest vertical in shopping is apparel. That's what most people buy online. That's the most searched for vertical, which is kind of surprising because you think of clothing as something that's hard to buy online, right? You want to go into a store and see how it looks and see how it feels, see if it's right for you. But you also have to remember that apparel includes everyday things like, tennis shoes and socks and underwear, and when you think about all those things, and jeans, and so there's, it's not just fashion, but people are buying online quite a bit. But you're missing that fit opportunity. So companies for years have been trying to solve this problem, but using things like AR. Can you show me what it looks like on me in a virtual mirror, a virtual try-on experience? Or can I tell you the products that are in my closet today and you tell me which other products would fit? There have been a lot of attempts at this. Some of them have worked, kind of. I think the best one I've seen is actually a Pittsburgh startup that Zappos bought called Shoe Fitter, which would scan the inside of a shoe, scan the inside of all the shoes, and then you tell them which shoe fit you, and they'll find one that's the exact same shape. That's pretty powerful, but it was also very limited. It was a feature, it was a product maybe, not a company. I think there's still a lot of opportunity there to solve it. I've worked on this problem 3 or 4 times at Google. We've almost bought startups in the space to try to solve this problem. We haven't solved it. I don't think it's been solved. I think it's a really hard problem. The best solution I've seen so far is making returns easier, right? Buy 9 things, send 7 back. And maybe the biggest innovation is making that more cost efficient so that people do that as a standard practice, which I think some companies have been pretty successful at. Another one Actually, I'm going to speed up. I'm going to give you one more. And this, I think John also mentioned this, the Starbucks thing, right? That like loyalty. How do you reward loyalty? How do you get people to come back to your store? How do you get them excited about it? For years, I think I have a Sam Goody card it's all filled out that I can use for a free cassette tape. But like loyalty sometimes works. When I go into Sheetz, because I buy gas at Sheetz, when I go into Sheetz, sometimes when I buy a coffee, they're like, oh, it's free today. And then I just slowly walk out, like, is this okay? Like no receipt or anything, I just leave. That's a delightful experience that came out of me having a Sheetz card and not even really thinking about, like, I'm not going home and typing in I'm not doing much work to get a free coffee now and then. That's a pretty powerful thing because it's seamless. I see so many loyalty programs that just aren't seamless. They're work. And I think there's an opportunity there to close the gap. But I also feel like fit and loyalty, there are a lot of people trying to solve these problems over and over. I've seen so many startups on those two problems. The other one that I won't spend time on, because I'm out of time, is personal shopper apps, that like give you recommendations and help you find the right thing for you. Same thing. I've seen 5 or 6 startups just in Pittsburgh alone that have attempted this, and I don't think any of them have really broken through because shopping is very, very personal. And ultimately, maybe that's the holy grail is we can use AI to predict what would be the right product for you, but I don't think we're anywhere close. So it's ripe for disruption, but also it's a little bit of a red flag when everybody tries something and no one succeeds. Okay, I want to end with one thing. So until just there, I haven't mentioned AI or machine learning, even though that's probably what a lot of us are talking about. I agree with so much of what John said about the space. We tend to have a desire to apply machine learning to a problem. To me, and what we do a lot at Google is try to figure out the solution to the problem. Start from the problem, start from the why. What is it we're trying to do and why? Is it the right problem? Be pretty certain of that. Then try to solve it without machine learning. Just try to solve the problem. Get the mechanics right. We do things with humans. We'll have 1,000 people chugging away. Not everybody can have 1,000 people, maybe. But have humans try to attempt the thing and see if it's even possible. Where machine learning comes in is where you need to scale it to a high amount and where you need the drunk island people to go do the work for you. But even in those cases, we're still using humans. Like we get to the 90% using the machine learning, and then we're still using humans to do the fine-grained curation to make sure we get things right. So I don't see machine learning as innovation. I see solving a problem as innovation. And machine learning is one of many, many tools. Data is one of many, many tools. AR is one of many, many tools. All these things can get really hyped, but they're just pieces. They're just the Lego pieces that you use to get to the right solution.